Your smart home speaks 3 different languages, and until recently, your thermostat could only translate one of them. That's changing in 2026. I'm Keiko Tanaka, and today we're looking at 7 thermostats that finally let thread sensors, Zigbee lights, and Wi-Fi devices all talk to each other without turning your hallway into a glowing billboard of tech. You're listening to the Smart Home Setup Podcast. Quick heads up before we dive in. Everything you're about to hear, the research, the analysis, the writing, that's all done by real people on our team. The voice delivering it, that's AI generated, but the content itself is fully human verified and written by actual smart home experts. If you've been listening for a while, thank you. It genuinely keeps this show going. And if you're new here, welcome aboard. We release new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, covering smart home gear, automation strategies, and protocol breakdowns, without the hype or affiliate spam. Now, here's what we've got for you today. The best Matter-compatible thermostats in 2026 offer what design-conscious homeowners have been waiting for. Cross-platform climate control that works with Thread, Zigbee, and Wi-Fi devices simultaneously, without compromising your home's aesthetics. This guide walks through 7 Matter-compatible thermostats that disappear into your architecture, while orchestrating temperature, humidity, and energy flows across ecosystems that, until recently, refused to speak to one another. Let's start with the Google Nest Learning Thermostat 4th generation. Check the link below to see the current price. This marks Google's first full Matter implementation in climate control, bringing Thread border router functionality and Wi-Fi 6E into a housing that reads more like a minimalist clock than a control panel. The display goes fully black when inactive, creating a recessed void in the wall rather than the persistent glow most thermostats emit. That detail matters when you're trying to preserve the quietness of a hallway or bedroom approach. Here's why it belongs on this list. Matter 1.4 certification means this thermostat exposes temperature, humidity, occupancy, and scheduling data to Home Assistant, Apple Home, SmartThings, and Alexa simultaneously, without cloud bridges. That's true local control. The Thread radio extends your mesh network, which is critical if you're running hidden motion sensors or contact sensors elsewhere in the home, and it maintains full functionality even when internet connectivity drops. One persistent flaw, though: the installation requires a C-wire or the included power adapter, which can complicate retrofit projects in older homes where wall cavities are already crowded. Moving to the ecobee Smart Thermostat Premium. Check the link below for pricing. This one comes with a remote room sensor that sits on a shelf or mounts flush to a wall, allowing you to balance temperatures between sun-drenched living rooms and shaded bedrooms without visible tech on every surface. Matter support arrived via firmware update in late 2025, and it now shares sensor data across protocols. Thread for the remote sensor, Matter over Wi-Fi for hub communication. The automation logic here feels intuitive. If occupancy is detected in the bedroom and the time is after 10 p.m., it prioritizes the bedroom temperature target. That conditional triggers automatically, without needing complex scenes in your controller. The premium model also integrates air quality monitoring, VOC and CO2, feeding that data into energy-saving automations that adjust ventilation based on actual air conditions, not arbitrary schedules. The voice assistant built into the thermostat itself remains awkward, though. Responses lag by 2 to 3 seconds, and the microphone placement picks up HVAC noise. Now let's talk about the Honeywell Home T10 Pro. Check the link below to see current pricing. This takes a modular approach. The main thermostat hub uses Matter over Thread, and up to 20 wireless room sensors, also Thread-enabled, report temperature and occupancy without requiring line of sight or wall penetrations. For homes where architectural details like crown molding, exposed beams, or period plaster matter as much as comfort, this setup allows you to hide sensors in bookshelves, atop cabinetry, or inside ventilation grills. Honeywell's fallback behavior is among the most reliable. If your Matter controller goes offline, the T10 Pro reverts to its onboard schedule and continues managing HVAC without interruption. Latency between sensor detection and thermostat response averages 4 to 6 seconds on a healthy thread mesh. Not instantaneous, but predictable. The interface skews utilitarian rather than refined, with a bright white backlight that's difficult to dim fully, making it less ideal for spaces where you've worked to eliminate light pollution. Next up is the Carrier Core Smart Thermostat. Check the link below for pricing. This brings Matter compatibility to forced air systems with multi-stage heating and cooling, dual fuel setups, and zoned HVAC. Those are configurations where most consumer thermostats falter. It connects via Matter over Wi-Fi, no thread radio on board, which limits its usefulness as a mesh extender, but simplifies installation in homes with robust Wi-Fi coverage. This thermostat exposes detailed HVAC state data to your Matter controller, active heating or cooling stage, fan speed, outdoor temperature if paired with a compatible sensor, and runtime hours. That granularity enables dynamic load balancing automations. For example, if solar production exceeds 3 kilowatts and the time is during peak hours, run the cooling cycle now to shift energy consumption toward cheaper or self-generated power. The physical design feels dated, though. Thick bezels, a glossy screen that reflects overhead lighting, and the touchscreen occasionally misregisters taps near the edges. Next up is the Amazon Smart Thermostat Plus. Check the link below to see the price. It offers straightforward Matter over Thread climate control at a price point that makes it viable for rental properties or secondary zones where a $250 thermostat feels excessive. It relies entirely on your Matter controller for scheduling and automation logic, which means setup requires comfort with Home Assistant, Home, or SmartThings. Amazon built this as a pure endpoint device. It doesn't try to be a hub or voice assistant. The automation runs externally. If outdoor temperature is below 10 degrees Celsius and away mode is false, then set target temperature to 21 degrees. That simplicity reduces points of failure. The matte finish and thin profile, 18 millimeters depth, make it less obtrusive than budget competitors, though the lack of onboard scheduling means it defaults to a fixed temperature if your hub goes offline. No gradual setbacks, no occupancy awareness, just static heating until you restore connectivity. Now, the MISA Smart Thermostat for electric baseboard heaters. Check the link below for current pricing. This addresses a gap most smart thermostats ignore: electric resistance heating systems, common in older apartments and additions. Matter certification arrived in early 2026, bringing thread connectivity and cross-platform compatibility to a category that previously required proprietary apps and cloud dependencies. Electric baseboard heating responds faster than forced air, seconds rather than minutes, which makes automation latency more noticeable. MISA's thread implementation keeps command to response times under 2 seconds on a strong mesh. You can coordinate multiple zones. If the primary bedroom is occupied and the time is after 11 p.m., then set the bedroom thermostat to 19 degrees and set the living room thermostat to 16 degrees. The device itself is larger than most thermostats because it handles 15 amp loads, and the vertical orientation doesn't suit every wall layout. It looks best on tall, narrow wall sections rather than standard horizontal switch plates. Finally, the Sinope Smart Thermostat for radiant floor heating. Check the link below to see pricing. This manages the slow thermal mass of in-floor heating with Matter over Thread connectivity and predictive preheating algorithms that account for floor flab lag times. Radiant systems can take 30 to 60 minutes to reach target temperature, making traditional scheduling useless. This thermostat learns thermal response curves and initiates heating early. The automation logic considers thermal inertia. If wake time is 7 a.m. and floor slab temperature is below target temperature, then begin heating at 5:30 a.m. That predictive behavior integrates with understanding peak and off-peak energy rates, allowing you to preheat during cheaper overnight hours. Matter support means occupancy data from thread sensors elsewhere in your home can override the schedule automatically. The screen is bright, too bright for bedrooms, and there's no ambient light sensor to auto-adjust backlight intensity, which disrupts carefully composed lighting schemes after dark. So how did we make our picks? Every thermostat here underwent testing in multi-protocol environments, where Matter 1.4 devices coexist with legacy Zigbee lighting, Z-Wave door locks, and Wi-Fi cameras. We prioritized thermostats that expose complete climate data to Matter controllers without requiring manufacturer-specific apps for core functionality, because walled gardens defeat the purpose of Matter entirely. Physical design mattered as much as protocol support. Thermostats occupy prominent wall space, often at eye level in hallways or living areas where sight lines converge. We favored units that dim completely when inactive, avoid unnecessary branding, and use materials like matte plastics, glass, or metal accents that read as architectural fixtures rather than gadgets. We verified fallback behavior by disconnecting hubs, cutting internet, and power cycling thread border routers during active heating cycles. The best Matter-compatible thermostats continued managing HVAC using onboard schedules or last-known settings, maintaining baseline comfort even when the smart ecosystem collapsed. Finally, we measured automation latency, the time between a triggering event, like a door opening or occupancy detected, and thermostat response across thread and Wi-Fi implementations. Delays above 10 seconds undermine the seamlessness that makes automation feel invisible rather than annoying. Let's tackle some common questions. Do Matter thermostats work without internet? Yes, they maintain full local control through your home's Matter controller, whether that's an Apple HomePod, Google Nest Hub, or Home Assistant on a local server, even when internet connectivity drops, as long as your local network and controller remain operational. The thermostat will continue managing temperature based on its last received schedule or onboard programming, and thread-based models will still respond to sensors and automation triggers from other thread devices on your mesh network. What you'll lose is remote access from outside your home, weather-based adjustments, and cloud-dependent features like utility rebate reporting. For complete autonomy, configure all critical automations within your Matter controller, rather than relying on manufacturer cloud services. That way, if occupancy hasn't been detected for 2 hours, then Set Away mode executes locally without external dependencies. Can you use different smart home ecosystems with one Matter thermostat? Yes, Matter's core promise is simultaneous multi-ecosystem compatibility. A single Matter-certified thermostat can be controlled by Apple Home, Google Home, Amazon Alexa, Samsung SmartThings, and Home Assistant at the same time, without choosing one platform over others. The thermostat exposes its temperature, humidity, and scheduling data to all connected controllers simultaneously, and you can create automations in whichever ecosystem suits your workflow best. However, interoperability has practical limits. Advanced features like learning algorithms, geofencing, and manufacturer-specific energy reports typically require the thermostat's native app, and those features won't automatically appear in third-party controllers. Automation triggers created in one ecosystem won't appear in others. If you build a complex scene in Home Assistant, Apple Home won't display that logic, though the thermostat will still respond to commands from both. For true cross-platform automation, migrate your logic to Matter 1.4 controllers that all ecosystems can address. How do Matter thermostats handle thread mesh networks? Matter thermostats with thread support typically function as thread routers, not just endpoints, meaning they actively extend and strengthen your thread mesh network by forwarding messages between devices. That's critical for homes where hidden sensors or door locks sit far from your primary thread border router. A thermostat centrally located in your home can reduce latency for Thread devices in distant rooms by creating shorter communication paths. However, not all Matter thermostats include Thread radios. Some use Matter over Wi-Fi instead, which provides cross-platform compatibility but doesn't extend your mesh. Check specifications carefully. Thread-enabled models list Thread Border Router or Thread Router capabilities, while Wi-Fi-only models simply state Matter over Wi-Fi. If your home already has strong Thread coverage from HomePods, Nest Hubs, or dedicated border routers, a Wi-Fi thermostat works fine. If you're building out Thread coverage, prioritize thermostats that actively route. What happens if your thermostat loses connection to the Matter controller? Best case fallback behavior depends on the thermostat's onboard intelligence and last received instructions. Quality Matter thermostats revert to their internal schedule or hold the last commanded temperature indefinitely, continuing to manage your HVAC system without external input until connectivity restores. The Nest Learning thermostat, for example, uses its learned schedule even when disconnected, while simpler models like the Amazon Smart Thermostat Plus hold a fixed set point without time-based adjustments. Most thermostats won't send alerts or error messages during controller outages since they're designed to function independently as basic climate-controlled devices. You'll only notice if temperatures drift from expectations. Thread-based thermostats generally maintain better resilience because Thread mesh networks self-heal around failed nodes, while Wi-Fi models depend on your home network and controller remaining operational. If your router goes offline, a Wi-Fi thermostat loses all smart functionality immediately, whereas Thread devices can still communicate locally through nearby routers in the mesh. The best Matter-compatible thermostats in 2026 succeed not because they add features, but because they remove barriers between protocols, ecosystems, and the visual intrusion technology typically demands. A thermostat that speaks Thread to your sensors, Matter to your hubs, and disappears into your wall when inactive lets automation do what it should, adjust the environment so precisely you never think about temperature, only how a room feels when you enter it. The right choice depends less on feature lists than on how your home's systems already communicate. If you're running energy monitoring with Zigbee plugs and Thread door locks, prioritize a thermostat with Thread routing. If your automation logic lives in Home Assistant and you've invested in local storage and no subscription systems, choose a model with robust fallback behavior. And if your walls showcase original plaster or carefully selected finishes, look for thermostats that dim completely, because the most intelligent technology is the kind you don't see until you need it. That wraps up this episode of the Smart Home Setup Podcast. Thanks for spending part of your day with me. New episodes drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so there's always something fresh coming your way. If this episode helped you out, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a 5-star rating and write a quick review. It's genuinely the best way for other people to find the show when they're searching for smart home advice, and it helps more than you'd think. And hey, hit subscribe or follow so you get notified the second a new episode goes live. See you in the next one.